Armand had always imagined that one day he would fall in love naturally. Maybe he would meet someone during his studies, or at work, or perhaps through a friend. He never thought much about how it would happen, only that it would be his own choice. But life has a way of changing plans without asking permission. And for Armand, the change came suddenly, without warning. It started on a warm afternoon when his mother called him into the living room. She spoke with the tone that meant something important was coming. Armand sat quietly, waiting. His father cleared his throat and looked serious. That alone made Armand nervous. They told him that a proposal had come from a distant family friend, a girl named Roshna. They spoke about her polite nature, her good manners, how she was respectful, and came from a decent family. They spoke for several minutes, describing everything except the one thing they knew would make Armand hesitate. Then his aunt finally mentioned it. "She is healthy. A bit overweight," she said carefully, as if choosing each word like stepping stones. Armand didn't react right away. He simply nodded, though his mind began filling with questions. Why the hurry? Why him? Why a girl he had never met? He tried to explain that he wasn't ready yet, that he wanted time, that he wished to meet the girl properly. But before he could finish, his mother spoke with emotion. "We are not forcing you," she said, though her voice suggested the opposite. "But this proposal is good for the family. They trust us. They want this bond. It is our responsibility to respect them." Armand understood what she really meant. In their community, these expectations carried weight. If he refused without a strong reason, it could hurt feelings, damage relationships, create whispers among relatives. His parents didn't want that. Still, he wanted space to think. Over the next few days, relatives kept visiting. Every time, the topic returned to the marriage. Some talked about the girl's character, some about her family, and some indirectly commented about her appearance. Every comment made Armand feel more pressured. He felt like he was being pulled toward something without being asked how he truly felt. He agreed to meet Roshna, but even that meeting felt rushed. They sat in a room filled with relatives who pretended to be busy, yet kept glancing at them. Armand looked at Roshna. She was indeed overweight, but she carried herself with dignity. She wore a simple dress and kept adjusting her scarf nervously. She smiled politely, though it was clear she felt judged. Her eyes avoided his for most of the meeting, as if she feared what he might be thinking. When they were finally left alone for a few minutes, the conversation was short, awkward. Neither knew what to say. Armand asked simple questions, and she answered carefully, choosing her words like someone afraid to make a mistake. She didn't try to impress him. She didn't pretend to be someone else. She just spoke softly and honestly. But Armand's mind was filled with pressure from his family, not details from their small chat. He thought about expectations, responsibilities, and the weight of disappointing everyone. He wasn't sure what he truly felt about Roshna, but he also didn't have the courage to say no. Within a week, the engagement was fixed. Everyone celebrated except Armand, who tried to smile but felt a tightness in his chest. He didn't hate the idea of marriage, but he hated how rushed it all felt. He barely knew her. He didn't know what kind of person she was beyond that short conversation. More than anything, he disliked how he wasn't given time to think for himself. The day of the wedding came quicker than he expected. The house was full of guests, noise, laughter, and colorful decorations. Armand dressed in his wedding clothes, feeling like he was dressing for someone else's life. His cousins teased him. His mother blessed him, and his father patted his shoulder with pride. Everyone seemed happy. Everyone except him. When he reached the wedding hall, he felt a strange heaviness. The lights, the music, the smell of food. The excited voices, they all blended together into a blur. Then he saw Roshna, sitting on the stage with her head slightly lowered. She wore a beautiful dress, decorated with delicate embroidery. Her hands were trembling slightly, and she kept moving her fingers nervously. She looked shy, uncertain, and alone. As he walked toward her, he saw something in her eyes, fear. Not of him, but of the unknown future. The same fear he felt. In that moment, he realized they were both strangers being pushed into a lifelong bond neither fully understood. The wedding rituals continued, and everyone clapped when they exchanged their first glance as husband and wife. People around them whispered comments, some good, some unnecessary. Armin heard one distant relative say something about her weight, trying to hide it in a joke. Armin did not laugh. Roshna heard it too. Her smile wavered for a second, then she fixed it back in place like someone trained to hide hurt. Later that night, when they entered the room decorated with flowers and candles, the silence between them felt huge. Roshna sat at the edge of the bed, looking uncomfortable. Armin didn't know what to say. He wasn't angry with her, he was angry with the situation. She seemed just as pressured as he was. Maybe even more. She spoke first, in a soft voice. "I know this marriage happened fast. And I know you probably didn't want it this way." Her honesty surprised him. He didn't know how to respond, but he appreciated that she didn't pretend everything was perfect. "I didn't expect this either," he admitted. "But I guess we have to see how things go." Uh. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a sadness she was trying hard to hide. She had probably heard comments about her appearance all her life. People didn't see her kindness, they only saw her body. Maybe she had expected rejection. Maybe she feared being unwanted in her own marriage. Armin didn't know her story. He didn't know how many times she was judged unfairly. He didn't know that behind her quiet smile was a lifetime of silent struggles. All he knew was that they were now married, two strangers sitting in the same room, both uncertain, both scared, both trying to act strong. That night, they didn't talk much. They simply agreed to give each other space. Armin slept on one side of the room, Roshna on the other. The distance between them felt bigger than the physical space, two worlds, two minds, two hearts that didn't know how to connect yet. In the following days, Armin continued to feel uneasy. He avoided long conversations. He left for work early and returned late. He wasn't unkind, but he wasn't comfortable either. Roshna, on the other hand, tried her best to understand him. She never complained, never demanded anything, never questioned his silence. She helped his parents with the household, made sure everything ran smoothly, and treated everyone with respect. Armin watched her quietly. He wasn't ready to bond with her, but he couldn't ignore her efforts either. She worked in the house from morning to evening, yet she never showed tiredness. She spoke gently to everyone, even those who made unnecessary remarks. She handled responsibilities without expecting thanks. But despite her efforts, Armin's heart remained distant. He still felt like he was living someone else's life. He didn't know how long this strange distance would continue, or when things would change if they ever would. All he knew was that the woman he was now married to was a mystery, a stranger with a quiet smile and a world of unspoken emotions. What Armin didn't know was that life had already started preparing a surprising journey for both of them. A journey he never expected. A journey that would slowly reveal the real person behind the shy smile. A journey that would challenge his assumptions and quietly open his heart in ways he never imagined. And although he couldn't see it yet, everything was about to change. The first few weeks of their marriage passed slowly, filled with quiet moments and careful distances. Armin often stayed busy with work, choosing to spend more hours outside the house than usual. He told himself he was doing it to avoid awkward conversations, but somewhere deep inside, he knew he was running from facing the reality of his new life. Roshna noticed his silence, but she never questioned him. She continued her daily routine with patience. Every morning, she woke up early to prepare breakfast for the family. She greeted everyone with a gentle smile, even when she felt unsure of her place in the house. She cleaned, cooked, and helped Armin's mother with small tasks. She tried to make herself useful, not because she wanted praise, but because she believed it was her responsibility. Armin would often walk past the kitchen and see her working quietly. She would look up, smile politely, and ask if he needed anything. He always shook his head and left quickly. unsure how to talk to her. It wasn't that he disliked her, he simply didn't know her yet. His mind was still clouded by the way the marriage had happened. But even in his silence, Armand began noticing small things about her. He saw how she never complained, even when she had to manage everything alone. He saw how she treated his parents with kindness and respect. He saw how she handled difficult chores without asking for help. She was someone who worked from her heart, not for appreciation. One evening, Armand came home earlier than usual. He entered the house quietly and heard laughter coming from the living room. When he stepped inside, he saw Roshna talking to his mother. They were teasing each other lightly, and for the first time, Armand saw Roshna completely relaxed. Her smile was wide, and her eyes sparkled with a warmth he had never noticed before. The moment she saw him, she became shy again. She lowered her voice and adjusted her scarf. Armand realized that she was comfortable only when she didn't feel judged. When she felt accepted, it surprised him how different she looked when she wasn't hiding behind her fear. That night, during dinner, she served him food carefully. She didn't ask too many questions, didn't try to force conversation. She simply placed the food in front of him, with a polite nod. Armand watched her hands shaking slightly. She was trying not to show her nervousness, but he saw it anyway. He felt a small tug of guilt. She was trying, truly trying, to make this marriage work. And he was giving her nothing in return. But he still struggled. His mind wasn't ready yet. Days continued like this, until one morning something unexpected happened. Armand's mother suddenly fell sick. She felt dizzy and weak, unable to stand properly. Roshna reacted quickly. She helped her lie down, brought water, checked her temperature, and called the doctor without panicking. She stayed beside her the whole day, gently massaging her hands, keeping her comfortable, and speaking to her softly so she didn't feel scared. Armand watched all this from the doorway, surprised. Roshna worked tirelessly, not taking a moment for herself. She didn't leave his mother's side until late at night. Even then, she stayed awake for hours, checking her condition again and again. At one point, Armand stepped into the room and found Roshna sitting on the edge of the bed, her head slightly bowed from exhaustion. He noticed how tired her eyes looked, how her hands trembled from all the work she had done. For the first time, he saw beyond her appearance. He saw her heart. "Did you eat anything?" he asked softly. She looked up, surprised to hear his gentle tone. "Yes, a little," she replied, though the truth was, she hadn't eaten anything since morning. Armand nodded, still unsure what to say next. "Thank you for taking care of her." Roshna smiled faintly. "She is my mother too now. It is my duty." Her words touched him in a way he didn't expect. They were simple, but they carried sincerity. That night, Armand stayed awake, thinking about her. He realized she wasn't just kind, she had a strength inside her that no one talked about. She faced everything silently, without showing discomfort. Over the next few days, his mother recovered, and Roshna continued looking after her until she was completely fine. Even the neighbors noticed and complimented her. When they praised her cooking, her manners, her patience, she responded with humility. She never bragged, never complained, never made herself the center of attention. The more Armand observed her, the more he began understanding her. She was a woman who had lived with judgment for years. People often commented on her weight, thinking they had the right to speak about her body. People saw her size first and her character later. But she didn't let their words change her. She kept her heart clean. One afternoon, Armand returned home and found her sitting alone in the backyard. She looked tired but peaceful. She didn't see him coming, and for the first time, he saw the real expression on her face. One that wasn't covered with a polite smile. It was a mixture of sadness and hope. He sat down on the other side of the bench. She looked at him in surprise, not expecting him to join her. "You work too much," he said quietly. She gave a small smile. "Work keeps me busy. I like taking care of things. But you don't take care of yourself," he said. "I see how tired you look." She looked down at her hands. "I'm used to it," she whispered. Armand didn't know what she meant at first. But then he remembered the comments people made. The jokes, The looks. Maybe she was used to carrying more than she showed. He wanted to ask her more, but he didn't know how to start. They sat silently for a while. The quietness between them soft and calm, instead of awkward. From that day on, Armin started noticing her even more. One day, he saw her help a neighbor's child with homework. She explained everything with so much patience that even Armand felt impressed. Another day, she noticed an elderly neighbor struggling with groceries and immediately went to help her. She carried heavy bags easily, smiling the whole time. The old woman blessed her warmly, saying, "You have a golden heart, daughter." Armand felt proud hearing that, a feeling he never expected. Slowly, Roshna began opening up too. She started talking more at the dinner table, sharing small stories, laughing softly at jokes. She didn't try to get Armin's attention, she simply existed naturally, and he began enjoying her presence. One evening, while arranging the laundry, Armin heard a soft humming sound. He followed it, and found Roshna singing quietly while folding clothes. Her voice was sweet and soothing. She stopped immediately when she saw him. "I didn't know you could sing," he said with genuine surprise. She blushed. "It's nothing. I just sing when I'm alone." "You sing well," he said sincerely. It was a small compliment, but it meant a lot to her. Her eyes lit up with a happiness he hadn't seen before. That moment warmed something inside him. But the moment that truly changed his view came unexpectedly. One afternoon, Armin came home early and found the house too quiet. He searched around and eventually found Roshna in the kitchen. She was sitting on a small stool, breathing heavily, one hand on her forehead. She looked pale, exhausted, and lost. "Are you okay?" Armin asked, rushing to her side. She shook her head. "Just tired. I haven't been feeling well." "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "You have work," she whispered. "I didn't want to bother you." Armin felt a sharp pain of guilt. She had been doing everything alone, pushing herself until she fell sick. Without thinking, he helped her stand and guided her to the living room. "You need rest," he said firmly. She tried to protest, but he didn't let her. He brought her water, checked her temperature, and told his mother she wasn't well. His mother, surprised at first, immediately insisted she rest. Armin sat beside her until she fell asleep. Watching her, he felt something shift in his heart. This woman he had once seen as a stranger now felt like someone he needed to protect, someone whose pain mattered to him, someone who deserved care, respect, and kindness. He realized how wrong he had been to judge her only by her appearance. He had been distant while she had been giving her best every single day. She never asked for anything, but she gave everything she could. Armand touched his forehead gently, thinking deeply. Maybe this marriage wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was a journey he needed. Maybe he had been blind to something beautiful, standing right in front of him. From that moment on, something inside him softened. He didn't know what the future held. But one thing was certain, his heart was beginning to turn toward her. Slowly but surely. And life, quietly and gently, was preparing the next chapter. The weeks after Roshna fell sick changed something quietly between her and Armand. It was not a sudden change, but a slow, gentle shift, like the way morning light grows brighter little by little. Armand found himself thinking about her even when he was at work. He wondered if she had eaten, if she was resting, if she was feeling better. For the first time, his concern was natural, not forced. When he returned home that evening, Roshna was sitting in the living room with his mother, looking slightly better but still tired. She stood up slowly when she saw him, adjusting her scarf out of habit. "You should rest," Armin said softly. She looked at him in surprise, then nodded. His voice didn't have its usual distance anymore. It felt warm, sincere. As the days passed, Armin began helping her in small ways. If she was cooking, he would hand her ingredients or cut vegetables. If she was cleaning, he would lift heavy things for her. She always thanked him gently, though her shy smile said more than words. Their conversations started to grow. Not because they planned them, but because they began to feel comfortable around each other. One night after dinner, they sat on the balcony watching the sky. A cool breeze made the evening peaceful. Roshna broke the silence first. "Thank you for helping me the other day. I was feeling very weak." "You always help everyone," Arman replied. "It was my turn." "Arman." She smiled faintly. "I just try to do my best." Arman looked at her carefully. "You don't have to do everything alone." She paused, then looked at her hands. "I'm used to doing things alone," she whispered. Her words carried a sadness Arman didn't fully understand yet. But he felt it in his heart. He wanted to know more about her. Not because he felt obligated, but because he genuinely cared. One evening, as they were folding laundry together, Arman finally asked, "Roshna, can I ask you something?" She looked up, nervous but willing to listen. "Yes. Were you always this quiet, or did something make you this way?" She hesitated for a few seconds, then took a deep breath. "I wasn't always quiet. As a child, I was very cheerful. I talked a lot, laughed a lot, played a lot. But when I grew older, people changed." Arman listened carefully. "People teased me about my weight," she said softly. "They made jokes. Sometimes in front of me, sometimes behind me. Even relatives, even friends." She tried to smile, but it wasn't a happy smile. "After hearing it so many times, I stopped talking too much. I thought staying silent would make people kinder. But it didn't." Arman's chest tightened. He had never thought about what she might have gone through all her life. He had judged her silently, just like others might have judged her openly. "I thought marriage would give me a fresh start," she continued. "I hoped my husband would see me for who I am, but I didn't know what you felt when you saw me for the first time." She looked down shyly. "I knew you weren't happy. I could feel it." Arman felt ashamed, but he didn't want to interrupt her. She was opening her heart, maybe for the first time. "I don't blame you," she whispered. "People often judge without knowing. That's just how life is." Arman placed the folded shirt aside and looked at her with seriousness. "I judged you too early, and I'm sorry for that. I should have taken time to understand you." Her eyes widened slightly. She never expected him to say something like that. For a moment, she said nothing, simply absorbing his words. That night, their silence wasn't cold or awkward. It was warm, soft, comfortable. After that talk, something shifted inside both of them. They started sitting together more often, sharing tea, talking about simple things, work, family, childhood memories. Arman realized she had a sharp mind and a gentle sense of humor. She wasn't just kind. She was thoughtful. She remembered every detail about people and understood their feelings easily. One afternoon, Arman came home early again. He heard Roshna laughing in the courtyard with some neighborhood children. It was a light, genuine laugh, the kind he hadn't heard from her before. She was teaching them a small game from her childhood. Her face glowed with happiness, and her eyes sparkled with innocence. Arman couldn't help smiling as he watched from a distance. She looked like a different person, confident, relaxed, joyful. He realized that she hid her true self only because she didn't feel safe showing it. But when she felt comfortable, she was full of life. When the children left, she turned and saw Arman standing there. Her smile faded into shyness. "You came early today?" Yes," he replied, still smiling softly. She looked down shyly. "Children don't judge. That's why I like being around them." Arman felt a gentle pull in his heart. Later that evening, they prepared dinner together. Arman sliced vegetables while she kneaded the dough. She started telling him small stories from her school days about her teachers, her friends, funny incidents. Her voice grew lively, and she laughed more easily now. Arman felt grateful that she felt comfortable sharing these moments with him. The next day, Roshna's cousin's sister visited their house. She hugged Roshna tightly, chatting excitedly. Arman overheard part of their conversation while passing by. "I can't believe how happy you look," her cousin whispered. "You were so scared before the wedding." Roshna smiled shyly. "Armin is not like others. He is understanding." Armin stopped for a moment. Her words touched him deeply. He realized his small efforts were making a big difference in her life. In the following weeks, they began taking evening walks together. It started by accident. One evening, Armand stepped outside to get some fresh air, and Roshna joined him quietly. They walked side by side, talking about the weather, daily tasks, and sometimes just enjoying the silence. Soon, it became a habit. During one walk, Armand asked her, "Do you have any dreams you left behind?" She looked surprised. "Dreams?" "Yes. Something you wanted to do but never got the chance." She thought for a moment. "I always wanted to study more, maybe learn stitching properly or take classes. But life became busy." Armin looked at her thoughtfully. "Why don't you start again?" She shook her head immediately. "No, it's too late now." "And who will support me?" "I will," Armin said without hesitation. "If it makes you happy, then you should do it." Her eyes filled with emotion. No one had ever encouraged her like that before. Their bond grew stronger each day. Not through grand gestures, but through small, quiet moments, shared smiles, gentle conversations, small acts of kindness. Armand found himself looking for her in every room, wanting to share things with her, wanting to listen to her voice. Roshna, too, felt a growing comfort. She no longer hesitated to talk to him. She laughed openly, teased him gently, and sometimes even shared her fears and worries. She began to trust him, not because of his words, but because of his actions. One evening, a small power cut happened. The house went dark, and they lit a candle in the living room. The soft glow made everything feel calm and warm. They sat close, sharing stories. The candlelight reflected on Roshna's face, making her eyes shine. Armand found himself watching her without realizing it. She noticed his gaze and grew shy. "Why are you staring at me?" Armand hesitated for a moment, then said honestly, "I never saw you like this before." "Like what?" she asked, confused. "So full of light," he said softly. Her cheeks turned warm with embarrassment, but her heart felt full. As days passed, Armand's distance disappeared completely. He began waiting for her at meal times, asking her opinion, sharing jokes, and helping with household tasks. He realized that her presence brought peace to his life. Her kindness, her patience, her gentle heart, they made him feel grounded. Roshna, too, felt a new kind of happiness. She no longer feared being unwanted. She felt seen, valued, and respected. For the first time in her life, she felt understood. Their home slowly transformed from a place of silence to a place of warmth. They cooked together, cleaned together, laughed together. Even their families noticed the change. One day, Armin's mother whispered to him, "You made the right decision by giving this marriage a chance. Roshna is a blessing." Armin smiled and looked at Roshna, who was helping in the kitchen. He knew in his heart that his mother was right. He no longer saw her as the obese stranger he married unwillingly. He saw her as the woman who filled his home with kindness, the woman who carried silent strength, the woman who touched his heart without even trying. Little did he know that their journey was still unfolding, and something even more beautiful awaited them ahead. Months passed, and life in the house began to feel brighter than ever before. The once silent rooms now carried soft laughter, warm conversations, and peaceful evenings. Armin and Roshna were no longer strangers walking on different paths. They were becoming partners slowly, naturally, beautifully. The people around them saw the change too. Neighbors often commented that they made a good pair. Relatives who once whispered unnecessary comments about Roshna now praised her kindness and manners. She accepted everything with humility. She never let praise make her proud, or criticism make her sad. Armand noticed the way she handled every situation with calm understanding. She treated everyone with respect, whether young or old. And he started feeling grateful every single day for having her in his life. One morning, Armand sat at the table, reading something on his phone. When he heard Roshna humming from the kitchen, the soft sound brought a smile to his face. A few months ago, he didn't even know she liked to sing. Now, her voice felt like a part of the home itself. She came out carrying a tray with breakfast. When she placed it in front of him, he said, "Your singing sounds nice." She stopped, looking surprised. "You heard?" He nodded with a gentle smile. "I always hear. It makes the house feel warm." A shy smile spread on her face. Moments like these made her heart feel full. She, who once feared being invisible, now felt seen every day. After breakfast, Armand left for work. Every time he left, she stood near the door until he disappeared down the street. It had become her habit. Though she never said it out loud, she liked watching him leave because she knew he would always return with a smile. One day, something happened that stayed in Armand's heart forever. He returned home early and found Roshna sitting quietly in the living room. A small diary lay open on her lap. She quickly closed it when she saw him. "What were you reading?" he asked gently. "Oh, nothing important," she said, trying to hide her nervousness. Armand sat beside her calmly. "Can I see?" She hesitated, then handed him the diary slowly. He opened it, expecting recipes or household notes, but instead, he found pages filled with her handwriting dreams, thoughts, small goals she wanted to achieve in life. One page said, "I want to learn stitching." Another said, "I want to study further, maybe take a course." And another, "I want to build confidence and speak without fear." Armand looked at her with soft eyes. She stared at her hands, embarrassed. "It's silly, isn't it?" "No," he said firmly. "It's beautiful." She looked up in surprise. "Really?" "Of course," he said. "Every dream matters. Your dreams matter." She blinked, unsure how to respond. No one had ever told her that before. Armand continued, "Why don't you start one of these? You can take a stitching course or join a class." She shook her head. "I don't know if I can. I've never done anything like this." "But you can try," he encouraged, "and I'll help you." His sincerity touched her deeply. She felt hope rise inside her heart, something she had pushed down for years. Within a few days, Armand found a nearby stitching center. He showed the brochure to her. She stared at it silently, both nervous and excited. "Will you go?" he asked gently. She took a long breath. "Yes. I will try." The first day of her class was full of nervous energy. She dressed carefully, checked the time again and again, and kept adjusting her scarf. Armand noticed her worried expressions. "You'll be fine," he said with a reassuring smile. "What if I make mistakes?" she murmured. "Everyone makes mistakes," he replied. "That's how people learn." He walked her to the gate and wished her luck. She looked back once before entering, her heart beating fast. But she didn't know that Armand waited outside the whole time, just to make sure she felt safe. Inside the class, she found other women talking and laughing. They welcomed her kindly. At first, she fumbled with the thread and needle, but the teacher guided her patiently. Slowly, she began to enjoy it. Her hands moved with more confidence. She even made a small handkerchief on the first day. When she came out, Armand was still standing there. "How was it?" he asked eagerly. She held out the stitched cloth with shy pride. "I made this." He took it gently. "It's beautiful," he said. "Just like your effort." Her smile that day was brighter than he had ever seen. Days turned into weeks, and Roshna grew more confident. She started making little things, pillow covers, small bags, simple clothes. Armand proudly showed them to neighbors and relatives, praising her talent. She would blush every time someone complimented her. But deep inside, she felt something she had never felt before: belief in herself. Another moment came that strengthened their bond even further. One evening, Armand returned home tired. He looked stressed, something she rarely saw. She quietly prepared tea and brought it to him. He sighed. "Work was difficult today. You want to talk about it?" she asked softly. He looked at her, surprised. No one usually asked him that. He shared his worries, and she listened carefully without interrupting. She didn't give complex advice, just simple, kind words. Everything will be fine. You always handle things well. Don't stress too much. Her soft voice comforted him more than he expected. For the first time, he realized that she understood him better than he understood himself. As months passed, their bond deepened. They went to market together, attended family gatherings as a united pair, and even started decorating the house together. They didn't need grand gestures. Small things like choosing curtains, buying flowers, or arranging the living room brought them joy. One evening, after finishing dinner, they sat on the rooftop. The sky was clear, full of stars. A gentle wind brushed against them. The peace of the moment felt perfect. "I'm proud of you," Armin said suddenly. Roshna looked at him, confused. "Proud? For what?" "For growing. For trying. For believing in yourself." She felt tears forming in her eyes, but they were tears of happiness. "I couldn't have done it without you." "No," he replied gently. "You always had it in you. I just reminded you." She looked at him with deep emotion. In that moment, she realized something important. Love doesn't come from perfect people, perfect lives, or perfect appearances. It grows from understanding, care, patience, and kindness. Armin reached for her hand slowly, respectfully. She didn't pull away. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had been meant to hold each other all along. Sitting under the sky, hand in hand, they felt a quiet closeness. Warm, comforting, strong. Life continued with its ups and downs, but now they faced everything together. When Armand struggled at work, she supported him. When she learned new skills, he celebrated her achievements. When family issues came up, they handled them as a team. Their home became a place where both felt understood. Both felt valued. Both felt loved. One day, while talking to a friend, Armin said something without even realizing how meaningful it was. "I thought I was forced into this marriage," he said. "But now I know. Maybe life pushed me toward something good. Something I didn't expect." Roshna overheard it by accident. It brought tears to her eyes, not of sadness, but of overwhelming gratitude. She had always prayed for a partner who would see her heart before her appearance. And now, she had one. Armin, too, felt thankful. He had gained not just a wife, but a companion who brought peace to his life, warmth to his days, and comfort to his heart. In the end, what began as an unwanted marriage turned into the most beautiful chapter of their lives, a chapter built on patience, kindness, courage, and understanding. Armin realized something he never imagined. He didn't just accept the marriage, he cherished it, and he cherished her completely, honestly, wholeheartedly. Their journey, which started with uncertainty, blossomed into a bond that neither time nor challenges could break. And as they continued walking through life hand in hand, they both knew one thing for sure. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings.